Kris Jenner just turned 70, and she did it in the most Kris Jenner way possible. No small dinner, no private family brunch. This woman celebrated like Hollywood royalty because that's exactly what she believes she is. We're talking about a party so extravagant, it had the entire entertainment industry buzzing. This wasn't held at some Beverly Hills hotel or even one of the Kardashian mansions. No, Kris took things to another level. She celebrated her milestone birthday on November 8th at Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez's Los Angeles estate. Yeah, that Jeff Bezos. When you pick the home of one of the richest men on the planet for your party, you're not just celebrating, you're sending a message. The guest list alone could have crashed the internet. Kim Kardashian showed up dripping in diamonds, serving that signature Kardashian glamour that screams, "We still run this town." Kylie Jenner, full billionaire energy, head to toe couture. Khloe was glowing, Kendall looked like she just stepped off a Paris runway, and Kourtney brought that mix of elegance and attitude that only she can pull off. And of course, Corey Gamble was right by Kris's side, smiling, nodding, and doing his best supportive partner performance for the cameras. But the Kardashian-Jenner clan wasn't the only attraction that night. Martha Stewart made an appearance because, yes, apparently she and Kris have become genuine friends. Mariah Carey was there too, and honestly, perfect match. The diva energy in that room could have powered Los Angeles for a week. Paris Hilton showed up, bringing her long history with the Kardashian family full circle. Even whispers about Ellen, Oprah, and a few A-list CEOs made the rounds online. This wasn't just a birthday party. This was a statement of power. The mansion itself was straight out of The Great Gatsby. Crystal chandeliers, vintage jazz, black and gold decor, flapper dresses, and tuxedos. The full old Hollywood fantasy. Every angle of that night screamed wealth and legacy. But somewhere behind all that glitter and champagne, something happened. Because not long after the music peaked and the crowd started to settle into the rhythm of the night, things took a sharp turn. Reports started surfacing. Police spotted at the gates, flashing lights, an ambulance quietly rolling out of the driveway. And then, silence. Let's talk about that. A noise complaint was reportedly called in. At Jeff Bezos' estate, be serious. The man lives on 10 acres of ultra-secure land surrounded by buffer zones thicker than most city parks. His neighbors are probably satellites. His hedges might have NDAS. There's no world where you call in a noise complaint at Bezos' fortress. So if cops showed up, it wasn't because someone played Like a G6 too loud. No, if law enforcement rolled through that gate, it's because someone important wanted them there, or because someone lost control of the situation. Now here's where this whole thing shifts from funny conspiracy to wait a minute. Multiple sources online claimed that just after the police arrived, an ambulance was seen leaving the property. The moment that vehicle pulled away, the party reportedly stopped cold, lights dimmed, music cut, guests ushered out, and from that second on, nobody, not Kris, not Kim, not the guests, said a single word about it. Think about that. A billionaire's mansion, one of the most secure properties in Los Angeles, suddenly swarmed by emergency response. And the story that hits the press is a noise complaint. Nah, that's not a cover story. That's a distraction. Now, if you know anything about Kris Jenner, you know this. She doesn't do chaos. She controls chaos. This woman has turned scandals into storylines and tragedies into brand moments. So if something really went wrong that night, best believe the spin machine went into overdrive. TMZ and Page Six both reported the event as luxurious and flawless, conveniently skipping over any mention of the ambulance or police presence. And while the mainstream headlines obsessed over fashion, the internet was busy dissecting that 10-second clip of an emergency vehicle leaving the Bezos property. So what really happened that night? Who was in that ambulance? Why did the event shut down so suddenly? And why is everyone pretending it didn't? Because when you throw a party at Jeff Bezos' fortress, a 14,000 square foot home on 10 acres, built like Fort Knox, surrounded by security cameras, bodyguards, and walls taller than legal limits, there's no such thing as an unexpected visitor. Someone knew, someone made that call, and someone wanted this buried. All right, guys. Let's rewind for a second. We've got a billionaire fortress sitting on 10 acres of land, surrounded by iron gates, guards, and hedges taller than city ordinances allow. We've got a noise complaint that makes no logical sense. We've got an ambulance rolling out of Jeff Bezos' estate mid-celebration, and a party that shut down the moment those flashing lights hit the driveway. This isn't giving noise complaint. This is giving somebody broke billionaire code. Think about it. What really happens inside a $175 million mansion that requires both an ambulance and a perfectly coordinated PR cover-up? Because the timeline doesn't add up and the excuse doesn't hold. If this was truly a minor incident, why the lockdown? Why did the staff act like they were in crisis management mode? And let's be honest, the cover story was lazy, like insultingly lazy. Even tabloids like TMZ barely tried to dress it up. It was just noise complaint, everything fine, everyone happy, move along. Come on, this is Kris Jenner we're talking about. The woman could turn a flat tire into a 2-part Hulu special. If she's silent, that means something's being managed. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Footage circulated online, reportedly showing the ambulance leaving the Bezos property. If you zoom in, you can see security rushing guests toward the exit, flashes bouncing off black SUVs, and high-profile faces, Oprah, Paris Hilton, and a few others, quietly being escorted away. No one was panicking, but no one was celebrating either. It felt contained, controlled, sanitized, like someone hit the crisis button and the entire operation switched into damage control mode. And that's when the real question hits: why does a billionaire need an ambulance when they have private everything? Private doctors, private medics, private contracts with hospitals. Billionaires don't dial 911. Their assistants dial NDAS. So if the public actually saw an ambulance leaving Jeff Bezos' property, that means someone inside decided to break protocol. Someone said, forget the NDAs, forget the optics, call 911 now. And do you realize how bad something has to get for a person that rich to voluntarily invite police reports, paperwork, and witnesses into their home? That's why this story hits different. Because when billionaires lose control of their own narrative, even for 5 minutes, that's when you start to see what's real. So here's the thing. If you ever see an ambulance leave a billionaire's estate in the middle of a private event, there are 5 questions you should always ask. Call it your pop culture citizens checklist. Because billionaires don't summon emergency services for hangnails or headaches. They call them when something threatens the illusion. Question 1. Was someone sick or was someone caught? Because let's be honest, a billionaire emergency is rarely about health. It's usually about liability on 2 legs. Question 2, who made the call? A guest, a staff member, a family member? Because if it was staff, they risked their job and likely their NDA. If it was a guest, they risked their invite to every private yacht and influencer brunch for the next decade. But if it was family, oh, that's betrayal. That's Kardashian level drama. That's season finale energy. And here's the irony. For a family that's built an empire on showing it all, the Kardashians haven't shown us anything real in years. Every storyline feels polished, planned, approved. So when something truly unpredictable happens, like an ambulance pulling out of a billionaire's mansion, that's when you know you're finally seeing something raw. Whatever happened that night clearly wasn't part of the script. And in a world where everything is curated, a genuine accident or exposure is the one thing money can't control. We've already asked who made the 911 call and whether someone was sick or caught. But question 3 hits a whole different nerve. Was that ambulance there to help someone or to remove someone? Because let's be honest, sometimes the emergency isn't about an injury, it's about control. Sometimes an ambulance doesn't carry a patient, it carries a problem. In Hollywood, image is everything. Reputation is currency. And when things start to spiral, even for a second, the goal isn't always to heal, it's to hide. So when an ambulance rolls into a billionaire estate mid-party, you have to wonder, was it there to save someone? Or was it there to quietly escort someone off the property before they said too much or before anyone hit record? Because in crisis PR, an ambulance can double as an extraction vehicle. When optics collapse, the first priority isn't medical, it's containment. Now, question 4, why did the entire party end immediately after the ambulance left? Because if this was just a dizzy guest or a sprained ankle, Kris Jenner would have had a new celebrity flown in on a private jet before dessert. She's done this before: replacements, reshoots, reinventions. That woman runs damage control like a CEO. So if she shut everything down within minutes, that means the situation couldn't be photographed, posted, or People magazined. And that brings us to question 5, the most obvious one. Why did every major outlet report a noise complaint instead of the real ambulance timeline? A noise complaint is harmless. It makes billionaires look fun, not fragile. But an ambulance? That raises questions, and billionaires hate questions. They don't pay for privacy, they pay for silence. Once you start asking those 5 questions, you can't go back to believing this was just a whoopsie, that the music was too loud, or Grandma Kris got a little too tipsy on rosé. No, this feels like someone inside broke billionaire code, someone lost control, or someone had to be removed before they embarrassed the brand, or worse, the network. And listen, after cross-referencing sources, social clips, and timing discrepancies, I think I've narrowed it down to 4 possible theories for what triggered the ambulance that night. Let's go. Theory 1, someone had a recreational enthusiasm incident that went south fast. Because let's not pretend, at billionaire parties, people don't lightly sip. They indulge in things that sound like mythology and taste like lawsuits. Substances named after Greek gods, rare cocktails, experimental blends that would make a pharmacist blush. If a high net worth guest miscalculated their limits, or worse, mixed the wrong billionaire party favors, things could have spiraled quickly. Imagine someone hallucinating in the hedges, shouting names, or trying to live stream from Bezos' lawn. That's not a hangover. That's a PR nightmare. And Kris Jenner doesn't call a doctor for PR nightmares. She calls a crisis team. But if an ambulance was called instead, that means the situation went beyond fixable. It became something that needed to be locked down before TMZ woke up. Think about it. This was a closed, invite-only event hosted by some of the richest, most media-savvy people on the planet. If emergency services had to step in, it wasn't for something mild. It was for something uncontainable. And that's why the timeline matters. The ambulance wasn't random. It was the turning point. The exact moment when the illusion cracked and the people who built it had to decide, protect the image or save the story. Harvey was probably at that party, right in the middle of it all, with roughly 500 guests in attendance, every phone confiscated, and every guest signing thick NDAs. This wasn't some casual birthday dinner. It was a billionaire level production. Anything could have happened behind those gates without a single leak to the public. Now, one theory makes more sense than people think. Someone might have collapsed. And no, not from age or too much champagne. Let's be honest, Kris Jenner's social circle isn't exactly the organic yoga and green juice crowd. This was a night full of champagne, Botox, secrets, stress, and decades of pent-up Hollywood tension. These are people whose hearts have survived lies, surgeries, and scandals. One wrong toast, one argument over who's really invited to the after party, and someone could have hit the floor harder than a canceled Hulu pitch. And when that happens, an ambulance becomes the cleanest, quietest option. No paparazzi, no leaks, just a medical emergency, neatly disguised as a noise complaint. It's the perfect cover story. Before anyone rolls their eyes, remember Diddy's parties, same level of luxury, same A-list energy, and we saw where those headlines ended. Same glamour, different names. So it's not too far-fetched to believe something similar could have gone down here. But that brings us to another theory. Someone might have tried to leave the inner room without permission. Every high-profile event has 2 spaces, the public side for the influencers and Hollywood faces, and the real one behind closed doors, where phones are banned and conversations disappear into thin air. If someone in that room saw something they weren't supposed to, a deal, a heated moment, maybe even something unfiltered, and tried to leave, that's a full-blown emergency. Normally, security handles that quietly. But if someone panicked, screamed, or fainted, suddenly you've got a situation that even Kris Jenner's crisis instincts can't contain. And that's when an ambulance shows up, not because someone's hurt, but because someone's compromised. The footage from that night says it all: the tense security, the celebrities leaving in silence, the way the energy shifted. It didn't look like a party that ended naturally. It looked like damage control. Now let's talk about the 4th theory, the one that hits closer to home. What if it wasn't a guest, but family? At 70, Kris Jenner isn't just blowing out candles, she's passing out power. Who gets the brand? Who gets control? Who inherits the empire after her? The Kardashians aren't just relatives, they're a corporation with bloodlines. and every corporation eventually faces a boardroom battle. So imagine a family disagreement turns explosive. Words fly, someone storms off, emotions spike, and suddenly there's an accident or breakdown. In that moment, Kris wouldn't call her private doctors. Too risky. Private medics talk. 9/11 doesn't. HIPAA laws guarantee silence, and in her world, silence is priceless. That's why the party, ending the second the ambulance left, doesn't scream exhaustion. It screams legal intervention. Someone said, "Shut it down." Now, whatever happened that night, it wasn't a health scare, it was a PR emergency. And Kris Jenner, the woman who built an empire on managing chaos, handled it the only way she knows how, by pulling the plug before the story could escape. This was never a noise complaint. This was a containment emergency, the kind of crisis that forces billionaires to call in outsiders, then scramble to cover it up with a bad lie. Let's go back to the million-dollar question. Or, in Kris and Jeff Bezos' world, the parking ticket question. Who inside that house actually made the call? Because an ambulance doesn't roll onto billionaire soil unless someone inside those gates decided, forget the optics, call 911. After looking at the details, I've narrowed it down to 3 likely suspects. Suspect 1, a staff member who saw something they were never trained for. To me, this is the most human possibility. A caterer, a bartender, a bodyguard, or even the poor assistant tasked with locking up 500 cell phones in Ziploc bags. Maybe one of them saw something they couldn't ignore. There's a difference between my boss is drunk and someone might actually die. If a staff member risked their job, their NDA, their visa, and their place on the Hollywood payroll to make that call, that means the emergency was real. Not reputational, not PR damage, but life or death, because no one with a conscience throws away their future just to make a headline. Now, suspect 2, a VIP guest who realized, oh no, we're not safe here. See, Kris's parties are curated like movie premieres. You don't get in because you're famous. You get in because you're useful. There are layers, PR allies, long-term friends, and the select few who know too much. If one of those high-powered guests, someone with their own lawyers, their own image empire, thought the situation was out of control, they wouldn't wait for Kris to handle it. They'd call 911 themselves and let their legal team deal with the fallout later. That's the kind of person who survives scandals, even if the Kardashians don't. Then there's suspect 3, someone from inside the family. And that, my friends, would be the ultimate betrayal. Because if a Kardashian or a Jenner made that call, it means this wasn't random. It was internal. There are only 2 reasons a family member would break the golden handle it in-house rule. 1, someone they love was in real medical danger and Kris prioritized PR over safety. Or 2, the family drama exploded to a point where outside intervention became the only option. That kind of call changes everything. Relationships end, inheritance lines shift, and someone gets cropped out of the next Christmas card. So depending on who made that call, this wasn't just a health emergency. It was either a scandal containment operation or the first shot in a Kardashian family civil war. And notice, none of those options sound like, oops, Bruno Mars got a little too loud. Because, come on, if the best excuse you can come up with is noise complaint, you're basically insulting the audience's IQ. If this really was a cover-up, then whoever wrote that excuse should be demoted to answering customer service emails for Skims. That lie wasn't just bad, it was lazy. It's like they didn't even try. And here's why it fails. Reason number 1, it's the wrong lie for the setting. A noise complaint only works when you have neighbors. Jeff Bezos doesn't have neighbors. He has acres of private land, high walls, and security teams with military-grade walkie-talkies. The man's property is so large, his nearest neighbor is probably a drone scanning for low credit scores. So yeah, if this was a cover-up, it wasn't just sloppy, it was offensive. Because billionaires spend billions controlling their image. But this time, they underestimated how loud silence can sound when something's being hidden. Let's be real, a noise complaint doesn't shut down a billionaire party. When the cops show up at a regular house party, you turn the music down and keep eating hummus. But billionaires, they don't cancel the champagne because an officer at the gate said, "Ma'am, could you lower the volume?" Come on, this wasn't about decibels, it was about damage control. And here's where their lie completely falls apart, the timeline. The ambulance left first, then the party ended. Only after that did the noise complaint headline suddenly appear in the press like, A Kylie lip kit restock, that's not coincidence, that's coordination, but bad coordination. The PR team didn't even bother to align the story with the footage. They just threw a headline at the wall and hoped it would trend. Now, if they'd wanted people to actually buy the lie, there were better options, believable ones. They could have said, a guest had a minor medical emergency but is stable and recovering. That's neutral, human, and unproblematic. Or, out of respect for the individual, the family decided to end the celebration early. That's dignified. Or, my personal favorite, Kris got emotional during her 70th birthday speech, and the family decided to share a private moment together. Perfect. No one investigates tears. Instead, they gave us noise. Girl, please. Because here's what really happened. We're supposed to believe that inside a 10-acre fortress with no neighbors, an ambulance quietly left, the party shut down immediately after, police showed up, and by morning, hedges were being trimmed like nothing happened. Someone inside that mansion broke protocol, something happened that couldn't stay hidden behind those walls. And that noise complaint, it wasn't the cause, it was the alibi, let's be honest. We'll probably never know the full truth. Billionaire secrets don't leak, they get edited. They disappear under PR statements, donations, and new headlines. That's how the game works. But one thing is certain, once an ambulance leaves a billionaire's party, you're no longer watching a celebration. You're watching a cover-up with hors d'oeuvres. And the worst part, they didn't even make the lie entertaining. If you're going to feed the world a story, at least give us a good one. So here's where we end, or maybe just where the next chapter begins. Which theory do you think forced that ambulance to roll out? Theory 1, the party favor incident. Theory 2, the collapse that couldn't be spun cute. Theory 3, someone fleeing the inner room. Or Theory 4, the family feud that went too far. Because one of those fits just a little too well. And if you guys want me to open folder 2, the list of names rumored to have been quietly erased from that guest list, let me know, because that investigation, it gets dark. Until then, remember, not every smile in Hollywood is happiness, and not every noise complaint is about music.